Minister for Health boasts that the ministry's contact tracing efforts are highly effective and is optimistic that it will continue to yield results. We'll have details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Tuesday, October 13th, 2020, I am Rakisha St. Louis. Health Minister Honorable Nicholas Steele says contact tracing, which forms one of the 3 defense levels that his government has put in place to fight the spread of the COVID-19 virus, has been highly effective. During the government's weekly post-cabinet brief on Tuesday, Minister Steele pointed to the effectiveness of the system by their ability to find and place in isolation 30 people who had some form of contact with the country's 25th positive case. The young man in his 30s who recently came into the country from Canada breached protocol and went into the village of Tivoli, St. Andrew.
We have 13 direct individuals and 17 indirect individuals that have been put in isolation/quarantine as a result. We will keep these individuals in quarantine and observation for at least 4 days before we test them to see if indeed they were exposed or infected by the individual.
Minister Steele says residents of Tivoli have been very uneasy since the news of the confirmed case. However, the team continues to actively contact trace in the interest of all.
I wanted to commend the team that is working in the St. Andrews area in general, but in Tivoli specifically. That is our second level of defense, to contact trace, identify individuals who were or may have been exposed, and to isolate and observe and test when it is appropriate time-wise.
Under the new protocols, individuals are to remain in quarantine for a maximum of 4 days, be tested, and then await clearance by health officials.
You were in quarantine not until you were swabbed. You were in quarantine until you were told you are clear to leave quarantine. The individual clearly understood that. The individual believed because he had a negative test on coming to Grenada, an individual told us that he is tested regularly in Canada, and therefore, as far as he was concerned, he didn't have it, and he did not wait for us to tell him that he didn't have it. He assumed on his own, and he took actions inappropriately because he believed one thing. In fact, up until the second test on Sunday, he was still in disbelief. Although we had him from Saturday at our site, we removed him from where he was and we put him into our site where we had the appropriate security, additional security, because we now see him as a flight risk, so to speak, from quarantine. He was still in disbelief until Sunday, when we got the second test.
The minister also used the opportunity to give an update on the issue of dengue, saying that some 37 cases have been recorded in Grenada over the past month and a half, with 2 of the 37 cases being type 3. Honorable Steele says the Vector Control Unit has since stepped up fogging and public awareness. Continuing the news, Tourism and Civil Aviation Minister Honorable Clarice Modeste Kerwin gave the assurance that government has not sealed any deal with cruise and yacht companies that have made formal requests to visit Grenada. Her reassurance came following statements that have been circulating that government has rented out beaches and is taking away the rights of Grenadians to freely use tourist attraction sites. In a press conference last Tuesday, Minister Modeste Kerwin explained that 2 companies, Seabourn Yacht Club and Sea Dream Cruise Line, have made requests to visit the island once fortnightly and once weekly respectively. During Tuesday's post-cabinet brief, the tourism minister emphasized that nothing has yet been finalized between the parties involved.
We have not finalized anything, and we were given permission by our cabinet to negotiate, and that is where we are at this time. So one of them, which is the Sea Dream Yacht Club, they will start from Barbados. So the guests would be coming from different parts of the world and going into Barbados. They would first have to comply with the protocols of Barbados. Do they have their test, negative test, 72 hours before boarding the plane and so on. And before embarking on the ship itself, they will be tested again. And they had said that they'll be doing one more testing, but they'll be strictly monitored. So in terms of seeking to ensure safety, those protocols will be observed. So the yacht will come from Barbados. It will go to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I'm not sure if it's going to the mainland, but certainly it has an arrangement with St. Vincent to do the Grenadines, and it will be coming, it is proposed to come to Grenada.
Minister Modeste Kerwin says if the nod is received, careful consideration must be given to how vendors, craft makers, tour operators can benefit and how locals can be protected. She stressed that consideration will also be given to public opinion on the matter.
Whatever arrangement we have with any groups coming in should follow that very same pattern, that the groups must be manageable and all of that. So there are discussions in terms of how it's going to be done, where they're going to be used. The yacht wants to come in and visit some sites, prearranged, booked, so that some tour operators will get something. We're working out the modality. How can we get vendors to sell in a safe way? And we're counting on my brother here to assist us in that as well. But tourism is doing its part to see how we can do it so that they can start earning something. But we're moving very cautiously. And while we have trained vendors already, we expect they will need some more training again, refreshers, and some more things would have to be put in place. Once some arrangement is made, then or arrived at, not signed or anything, we will come back to our Grenadian people to let them know what we have proposed.
This is the National Report. The news will continue after the break. Prime Minister Dr. The Right Honorable Keith Mitchell is impressed with the progress of work on the Kimpton Kawana Bay Project. During a recent tour of the project site, Dr. Mitchell, accompanied by parliamentary representative for the area, Honorable Nicholas Steele, witnessed the start of work on the construction of the fourth and final building. The project is expected to be completed in 2021, with the official opening likely to take place in 2022. The development will comprise 133 rooms and 31 suites. Dr. Mitchell welcomed the additional room stock and expressed confidence that the tourism industry will recover from the current impact of the COVID-19 pandemic.
And I know the initial plan was very much smaller than what we've seen, but the decision to expand to over 168 rooms would further bring additional room stock to this country, which we know impacts heavily on the tourism product, which we expect will be revived in the not too distant future.
At present, up to 140 workers are employed, and that number is likely to increase by about 100 as construction of the fourth building begins in earnest and the outfitting of all buildings gets underway. Once opened, the hotel is expected to provide 300 direct jobs, and the spin-off factor will provide for another 800 indirect jobs. Kimpton Kawana Bay is an approved project under Grenada's Citizenship by Investment CBI program. Dr. Mitchell underscores the importance of the CBI program and the benefits that can be derived from it.
It convinces me even further that the vision of the government to initiate the CBI program was certainly a correct one. For persons who may not understand the extent of the importance of jobs, and that this kind of development and initiative that had brought it, they need to be aware of the change that has taken place with this investment and the opportunity that has been created. So I am convinced that we're seeing more and more of this, whether it's this project, other projects in St. David's, in St. Patrick's, and more around the country. The CBI program has been such a blessing for this country.
Finally in the news, the Grenada Airports Authority, GAA, has cited shipping delays for firefighting aggregates as its reason for its temporary change in status that affects the arrival of larger aircraft. Despite its efforts to plan ahead for the resumption of international flights this month, the GAA is facing factors outside of its control. Having checked its inventory, the GAA placed an order for additional aggregates, foam and dry chemicals on August 27, 2020, through its service provider. The GAA was advised of a delivery time of 5 weeks, which by calculation was estimated to be the first week of October. However, on October 7, 2020, the supplier advised the GAA that due to logistical problems, the shipment of the dry chemicals and foam was booked for departure on Thursday, October 15th. The shipment is therefore expected to arrive in Grenada in 7 days on October 22, 2020. As a result of this, the current status for crash fire rescue capabilities will be affected and will impact airline operators with larger aircraft which fly into Grenada, including Virgin Atlantic and British Airways. As a responsible aviation entity that focuses on safety and security, and in accordance with the standards set by the International Civil Aviation Organization, the GAA immediately advised airline operators of this issue. General Manager of the Grenada Airport Authority, Mrs. Wendy Francette Williams, gave assurances Tuesday that, and I quote, "The GAA values airline safety and security as our first priority, and we work in compliance with industry standards at all times. The timing of this is unfortunate, as Grenada is just resuming international commercial flights after several months. We regret the inconveniences that may be caused to the traveling public, but safety and security remain our foremost guiding principles. Therefore, the decision taken is the correct one. We look forward to resuming the facilitation of Category E aircraft like those operated by British Airways and Virgin Atlantic in the not-too-distant future," unquote. That story just ended the national report for Tuesday, October 13th. Let's recap the top story. Minister for Health boasts that ministry's contact tracing efforts are highly effective and is optimistic that it will continue to yield results. On behalf of the entire news and production team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rakisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.